Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the North Carolina Business Podcast. Here we talk with the owners about their products and services that they offer in their business, and we learn about their story. We find out about their life's journey and what was it that inspired them to become entrepreneurs. So grab a glass of iced tea or your beverage of choice and join us in a nice conversation to get to know another great North Carolina business owner. Hello and welcome to another episode of the North Carolina Business Podcast. I'm honored to have Brenda Planes here with me today. Thank you, Brenda, for being here on the podcast.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Amanda. I was so excited to see you, an old friend.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we went to high school together, junior high and high school together, and it's great to see you again, even though it's through the internet. Yeah, this is wonderful. I'm really excited to talk to you about your business, 𝙀𝙀𝙝 Would you mind going ahead and telling us what your business is all about, please?
Sure. Love to. 𝙀𝙀𝙝 is my own company. I started a couple of years ago. I am a social worker by profession and have done that for almost 30 years now, and decided a few years ago to venture out on my own. So now basically what I do is I've decided to use both my professional and personal experience to hold the hand of family members as their loved one ages. So on the journey with their aging loved one, then I help them with that. Hand in hand, we go through the process of anything where they may need help with any type of long-term planning needs. Whenever I work with families, I look at four main areas. I take a holistic approach to it, look at their healthcare needs, any type of legal documentation needs, financial planning, as well as social needs, because it's not just a one and done type thing when you're dealing with the aging. It takes a village to take care of these people.
Most definitely. So, I mean, if someone has a parent, like my dad, for example, he's 83 and he's in really good health. I mean, he has, a few aches and pains here and there, like he says, but I mean, he gets up in the morning and walks, 3 or 4 miles every morning, and he's doing really well. So at what point do people typically come to you and say, hey, we need your help? What do people, at what point is it when people are already needing help to go to a care facility, or is it before that, or all in between?
All of the above, Amanda.
Okay.
I am a planner, so I like to plan ahead for what's going to happen, but most people contact me when they are in crisis mode. It's now mom has fallen, she's been in the hospital, she's in a rehab, and they're saying that she can't go home, and we don't know what we're going to do with mom, and we've not planned for this. We've done no financial planning. We've not done anything, with her property. We've done no Medicaid planning. We don't know where she's going to go. How are we going to pay for it? So that's when they typically call me. I can help at any stage. I try to tell people, because I am a planner, to reach out to me whenever, as their parents are getting older, so that I can, when I do my assessment and I review everything, so that I can see, what do we need to do? What do we need to get in place for your mom or dad as they age? Because, your dad is great. He's at home, he's independent, but we never know what tomorrow will bring. And it's so true. And a lot of us don't plan for anything until that what if or that horrible thing happens to our family members. And I can handle a crisis. That's not an issue, but I would prefer to plan ahead, but that's okay. But yeah, they can reach out, and most of the people that I deal with are our age, on up to 60s and 70s. It's typically the children that are reaching out to me for help with their parents. I do have the occasional older person that reaches out to me themselves, but typically it's the families that are reaching out for assistance with their mom and dad.
Okay. So they contact you, and then what's the next step, or what do they need to do, or how does it go after initial, hey, Brenda, we need help. What happens?
So, so for me, it's mainly word of mouth for the referrals that I get. I mean, I do have a website. I work a lot with some networking groups around the area so that people are aware of my service. And so it might be maybe a home care agency that reaches out to me about Mrs. Smith that needs help. And then, they'll ask Mrs. Smith, is it okay if we have Brenda contact you? And then I'll reach out to Mrs. Smith and talk to her a little bit about my service. Now, before COVID-19, obviously, I was doing a lot of, well, I always did a face-to-face consultation with these families to listen to their story, hear what their needs are, because that's always important. And sometimes they just need to vent. They just need to share what's going on with them. It makes a big difference with that. So once we do the consultation, they, decide, yes, Brenda, we can use your services, or no, I think I can take care of it myself. Then if they agree to services, then we sit down and I have an assessment where I ask them a lot of questions about their health, their medication, their diagnoses. Do they go to the doctor regularly? What kind of things do they have in place? Do they have advanced directives? What's their budget? Do we need to do Medicaid planning? Do they have a will? Do they have children? Because a lot of times people don't have any type of legal documentation in place. And if you're going to do Medicaid planning, Medicaid looks back 5 years for anything. And so I tell people you have to look in that crystal ball and see 5 years out, are you going to need help? So even though I don't do the one-on-one face-to-face, I do a lot of FaceTime visits. We can do Zoom. And I just had a client that I worked with for a month, and I never, not once, met the client nor her children in person, which is so rare. I mean, I had never done that in 2 years. It was all FaceTime video, but it worked. I do reach out. The COVID has really changed the way I do visit my clients. Now, if we can go outside, then I wear a mask. We stay 6 feet apart. I visit people that are in facilities through their window. You make it work because they need some type of personal connection. So even though I'm very touchy-feely, but, it's kind of like I have to sit on my hands whenever I meet with these people.
That's nice. I know, and it's been a strange situation now with the COVID-19 for everybody, and like you said, a lot of people have had to go from face to face to definitely to conversations through the internet or by phone. It's just the way things are, and yeah, we'll see how that changes eventually, if it goes back to the normal or if we continue, in this way. Wow.
Right. I know I've tried to tell people, I said, even because COVID-19 came to town, people didn't stop needing care. People didn't stop falling. They didn't stop needing assistance with things. And to me, it's just being creative with how we resolve those problems right now. Because that's the first thing families will say, well, how are you going to meet with me? How are you going to see my mom? I'm like, we'll figure it out. However it needs to happen, we'll figure it out.
That's excellent. Good, good. Well, we'll have, in the show notes, how people can get in touch with you. And so people should contact you if they're, if they have parents who are aging or anyone in their care that might eventually need care. And you could help them to plan that for when the time comes. It could already be all laid out.
Right. I tell people sometimes it's nice to have a plan A and plan B. They're like, well, my husband doesn't need placement right now. We're doing great at home. Well, then perfect. Then, let's do that. But, if your husband has Alzheimer's, he's probably not going to get better. He's probably, well, he will, there's no probably, progress over time and get worse and worse. And then, of course, it would become the question of, are you still going to be able to manage him at home? And if not, and you decide on a facility, then it's nice. Then we don't have to start from scratch when that time comes, if we can kind of have a plan A and plan B in place for that. Makes it a little bit easier.
Right, right. That's excellent. And I haven't heard of anyone doing the types of services that you do. It seems like the people are kind of, looking around when the crisis comes or when something comes and just having to, at that time, try to figure out on their own. And it seems, oh my gosh, it seems very difficult because it's not something that we're used to. If you're not in, in that world, then it's a whole new world.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, because my mom would say to me, when my dad got sick, she was like, "Well, what would we do without you? What would we have done? How would we have made these decisions?" And I'm like, I don't know, because if I hadn't always worked in healthcare and always worked with the elderly, I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have. College is great, but it's, real life experience, of course, is much better, whether it's professional or personal. And it's been huge. And that was one of the deciding factors to start Elder and Wiser. Going through it myself with, my dad before he passed, my mom now, is if I can help to ease someone's journey with them now, with their family members, then that's a job well done for me, because it's not easy. And you're right, Amanda, there are very few people out there. The business model that I have, I'm the only one that I know of. There are a few other people out there in the area that provide a similar service. But it's hard, because if you don't have access to a social worker unless you're basically in the hospital, in a nursing home, or have home health care coming out, and there's no resources, and people don't know what to do, and they listen to their neighbor who they think knows what they're talking about, because they don't have anyone else to listen to. And so it's hard. It's like I wish I could expand it more so that I could make sure that people are more knowledgeable about what I do and the service that I provide, to be able to help them.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it sounds like it, especially now, like people our age, in 40s and 50s, it is the time that this is, if it hasn't happened before now, then it very well could be about now that people would need this service. And like you said, it's everything, not just the healthcare portion, but financial planning and legal documentation as well. Yeah. What all does that entail? Could it
Yeah,
entail?
so when I talk about like healthcare advocacy, it's really making sure they understand whatever their medical diagnoses are. I love it. I got a new client that she said, "Well, the doctor just diagnosed my husband with Alzheimer's." I was like, "Okay." And she goes, "And he gave me the 1-800 number to the Alzheimer's Association." I'm like, "Well, fantastic." Uh, and that's really, I think, because, we all do different things. And obviously his expertise is giving the diagnosis, whereas mine is more of, let's do some education on what's going on and how we're going to handle this. And so, and that's a lot of what I do with the healthcare advocacy, is the education piece of it. This is what you can expect. No, you're not crazy. Yes, they may have sundowners, or they may become more confused as the day progresses. But it's huge to make sure that they understand their medical diagnoses, how to manage their medications that go along with that. Medication management is one of the number one reasons why people end up in the hospital, that and falls, because they don't take their medications right. They don't fill the pill box. They take them out, they just don't understand. So it's very important that, we look at that and review it to make sure they're taking their medications correctly. With legal needs and documentation, I'll asking if they have advanced directives is always one of my first questions. If the person is competent and can complete those forms, then we need to get that done. I think it's very important, not only professionally but personally, to have those documents in place.
Now, is
Whenever
that
you're
like a living will? Is that what you're talking about,
Yes,
or things like
advanced
that?
directives. Yes, that is a living will, which lets you state what you would want for yourself at end of life, so that no one else has to make that decision for you.
Okay.
A healthcare power of attorney lets you choose someone to make those healthcare decisions for you when you're no longer able to. So those are two really important documents. Another important legal doc is, of course, a financial power of attorney. You're going to need someone to manage your finances whenever you're no longer able to. It's People take for granted, oh, my son's joined on my bank account, or he's the beneficiary. Well, that's not so easy. And if he's just the beneficiary, then he can't write checks for you. And if the checking account is only in your name, then when you pass, that $50,000 is frozen until after it goes through probate. But people don't realize that. And so education is huge on what I try to do with my families and their clients. Making sure that they have, I have to say, an estate will in place, for their home, their car, their land, their property, because it needs to be done that way. Very important. People are like, oh, I don't have anything. My family knows, they know who to give what to. Well, if there's an issue at the end, it's not going to be easy for anyone in your family to try to go through that. I think people don't, ignorance is bliss, and people don't want to deal with those
True.
things. And so I think they kind of just paint it off a lot of times.
Right.
Financial planning is another key issue. I had a lady tell me, she's like, I have, we'll say $500,000. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Where is that money? We need to make sure it's going to work for you so that you can continue to receive the care that you need for the rest of your life. Oh, it's in the local bank in my savings account. Okay, well, if you have $500,000 in your local bank in a savings account, and it's probably not going to be working for you the way that it should be. So we need to get them connected with, a financial advisor. Let's do some investing. Let's do some planning so that we can make your money work for you. People just don't always think about that. And so it's
Right.
really important. It's important to have a budget with that. Definitely. Social
Yes.
needs, like you talked about, when I assess social needs, that is anything from making sure they have the proper care at home. Do they need to hire a caregiver at home? Do they need placement in an assisted living or in a nursing home? Would they benefit from an adult daycare? Anything like that revolves around their home and care situation. But yes, it's most definitely a holistic approach. Whenever I work with people, it's not just you can't focus on one thing. It's
Mhm.
unfortunately, it is not that easy whenever you work with people for planning as we age.
Right, right. And that's similar to what I do as a coach. I'm a business coach and life coach, and it's not just okay, one specific problem. Like you said, you have to look at the whole person, and
Right.
because some things affect other parts of our lives. You had mentioned just a little bit about how you were inspired to go from being an employee for a few years and then now to start your own business, and you've had it for 2 years, but just recently you have gone full time in your own business, and congratulations.
Thank you.
That's quite an achievement. Can you tell us a little bit about how that happened?
Sure. And you're so kind to say I've been an employee for just a few years. My
Well,
husband likes to say decades. I'm like, that's ugly. But
exactly.
yes, decades when I actually figured up when we graduated from college. It's been almost 30 years that I've been an employee for someone
Yes,
else. And it's taken a
that's
long
true.
time. My last job, I was the social work director at a nursing home for 12 years. And I was
Wow.
slowly realizing that that job was turning me into someone that I didn't want to be. I was sitting in an office, I was doing more computer work, it was about documentation, it was less and less about being with the residents, doing things with them, which is why I became a social worker to begin with, is because
Hmm.
I like to help people. I like the one-on-one, not let me spend 5 minutes with you and then I've got to move on to the next 20 people that I have to take care of. It took a lot of soul searching to decide to leave the nursing home. I love the residents. I love my coworkers. But as someone said, I needed to do things the Brenda way, and now I can do things the Brenda way, where I really don't have any guidelines. If I need to do it, I can do it. It just varies, and it all depends. I mean, social work, the reason why I was always so drawn to social work is because it's such a open field of things that you can do. Even though I've always worked in healthcare and I've always worked with the elderly, it's just a wide variety of things that you can do with that. Um, as an example, like this week, I didn't know, but like I had to help disable somebody's car this week because a man that shouldn't be driving was going to drive his wife. His wife is like, "Can you help me disable his car?" I was like, sure. I had no idea what I was doing. I had to call a friend. But it is what it is. You do what you have to do in the moment to help take care of somebody. Um, when I decided to leave the nursing home, it was a list of pros and cons. It was a lot of support from my husband, my son, my friends, my family, because both my husband and son are entrepreneurs and really felt that I had the knowledge and I had the ability to start my own business. But it's scary. I am so far out of my comfort zone that it's not even funny some days. And yes, I just recently, I was still holding on to that little bit of a stable income part-time job, and I just recently resigned. And yes, I am now full-time with 𝙬𝙬𝙝. And it makes me happy because when I look back to see how far I've come, because there were plenty of times, especially that first year, where I wanted to quit. I was so tired of being poor. I was so tired of working so hard to make it work. I was just like, I just can't do it anymore. I just, you want to go back to the easy route. What's comfortable? The job at the nursing home was very comfortable. Um, but I'm so much happier now. And people that knew me then and know me now, they're like, Brenda, you're just almost a different person. Um, and that makes me happy. And although then again, it makes me think, how miserable was I? But I just didn't realize it back then. So it's kind of hard. But working for yourself and being able to manage it, I mean, you have to have a different mindset, a different personality, because it's not for everybody. That's for sure. Especially now, it's not. It's very different.
Right, right. I mean, that's incredible. Like you said, your husband is an entrepreneur and your son, do you mind telling us a little bit about them? The part about your son, I'm so excited to hear a little bit more about that, about Tanner. I mean, I've seen some of, things that he's put out on the internet, and it's
Hmm.
amazing. This kid is going to be the next Jeff Bezos. I mean, he's tearing it up already, and yeah, it's amazing. And what about your husband? What type of work does he do?
So my husband started out, he does IT, and he started out, he actually, he had a regular 9 to 5 job. He had gotten laid off many, many years ago and decided to start his own business doing designing websites for companies, and was very good at it. So that was really his first business that he started doing, was doing websites. And so, of course, he designed my website that I have, because it was funny. Somebody said, "Oh, your website, it's great. You must pay a fortune for that." I'm like, I have no idea. I'm blessed. I'm lucky enough that, my husband's able to design that and keep that up for me, because I have no idea.
I cooked him
Um,
dinner, right?
exactly, exactly. There you go. He was paid.
That's
Um,
right.
Definitely. So Phil started out with that. And when he was doing that, Tanner growing up, and then he would see what Phil would do with these other companies and with these other people, because a lot of the companies that Phil worked with to design websites, they were smaller. So it was like families, so we would do eat dinners and stuff like that with these people. And Tanner kind of learned a lot of, hey, these people work for themselves. These people make good money. How can I do that? And so he actually started, I think maybe at age 12, with Vine, doing social media marketing on Vine when he was a child. And he
Wow.
truly is
12.
self-taught. He would wrangle his friends into liking videos and other things, and started making ads. Then he started doing drop shipping. I laugh. We just cleaned out the bonus room last night. He sold these bubble face mask, was his first drop shipping item. Um,
Wow.
just these charcoal bubble face masks. And it was funny because he asked his grandmother to help him pay for those for him to sell. So it was like a joint venture
With the
between
grandmother.
him
That's
and his
great.
grandma when he first started, because he didn't have much money to be able to do that. So it was kind of exciting that my mom helped him to start that. But
That's nice.
now he does drop shipping still. He does social media marketing. He does Facebook ads, and he does a lot of um, sales, a lot of coaching, to teach people to learn what he does and how he does it. And the kid doesn't sit still. I mean, he's an inspiration to me. Like if I'm thinking, oh, today I'm not very busy, maybe I'll go sit by the pool. Well, Tanner will say, oh, I'm not very busy, so let me make 20 phone calls to, work on increasing my business, increasing whatever it is that I do. Let me make 10 new videos today. It's He is a very unique child, and if you can, watch his videos on YouTube, it's Tanner Planes on YouTube. It's very inspiring, and so every now and then I'll tell people, I'm like, if you're having a bad day, watch one of his videos because it will definitely inspire you and encourage you, I think, to do better for yourself and to want better for yourself through Tanner. And he works hard. And I know he works hard. He's just different. And he moved to Arizona this past fall, so we don't get to see him quite as often. But that's okay. We FaceTime him. But he, in some ways, he's still your typical 19-year-old. When I ask him, are you protecting yourself because of COVID-19, and his answer is sure.
Sure, Mom, with the eye roll, right?
Yes, yes. And I know, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, oh, that means he's not. That means he's not. He is still 19. He
Right.
is. But
Oh
yeah,
my
he is.
gosh.
Yeah, but he is
That's
great. He is an inspiration to me, definitely, and I hope to others. And and Tanner tries to give back too. He'll have like little contests every now and then, like but it's not pick a name. It is tell me what you want a business to do. It is tell me what can I do to help you increase your business. And then he picks from 10 stories or whatever. Last year, he actually flew, I think, a couple of kids to Florida to work with him and some of his friends to
oh
teach them
wow.
about his business. And that makes me stop and think. I'm like, as a teenager, to think that, to give back, because other kids look up to him. Sometimes it's like he's a star, he's a superstar, which I think is funny. So he said sometime one place he went somewhere and somebody recognized him. I'm like, really? That's just weird to me.
Well, get used to it, Mom. You never know.
Oh my
But
goodness.
that's great. That's great. Oh my gosh. So it is neat that you with your husband and your son, entrepreneurs. And what about your daughter? What does she think about entrepreneurship or
We
you
cannot get
said
her on
anything about
board
it?
yet. No, we cannot. We keep telling her, and she's 15, and Tanner started out at about 12, but we have to be careful not to compare them. That of
Oh,
course
right. They're
ruffles her
different.
feathers. I tell her she is unique in her own way, but she is much more like your typical teenager to me. Let me talk on the telephone, let me FaceTime my friends all day, and sleep until noon. She does help me some with 𝙀𝙀𝙘𝙀. She'll help me make my post. She'll do that. She's great at that. And so I try to get her to at least help me with that, to see kind of that end of the business. But
Good.
yeah, I'm not sure
That's
what
great.
she's going to do, but we're still working on her, but it'll be okay, whatever it is.
Exactly. Did we know what we wanted to do when we were 15? No, I certainly didn't.
I'm not sure I still want to, I know I
I
want to
know.
do a 50.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
But I feel like I'm getting closer, maybe.
Me too. Me too. That's funny. So with Elder and Wiser, where do you see it? I mean, you're getting started, but do you have an idea of where you want to go in 5 or 10 years from now, or let's just take it one day at a time now?
Well, I do kind of take it one day at a time. But of course, and when I refer to my husband, because it's really, I'm a one-man band. I am in this by myself. My husband is more of when I say marketing, he doesn't help me market, but he designs things like, my banner, my website, brochures, and things like that. But he tells me that one day, of course, the goal is going to be for me to be the boss and have employees to be working Elder and Wiser for me. The problem with that is I'm such a, I think, a control freak, and I like to have my hand on the pot if I like to know what's going on, that I'm not so sure I can let go enough to do that. I've often said I don't want to be anybody's boss because I like to do it myself, and then I know how it's done and it's done right. But if I really want to grow Elder and Wiser to make it an option for so many people to use and benefit from, then I mean, I won't be able to continue to just do it for myself. I mean, I will eventually have to have some employees to help me to take care of my clients and their families, which would only be beneficial for others to do that. So, one day that can be a goal for me, for one day to start out, although now I say I need an assistant. I need somebody to, make my phone calls and do some of this paperwork that I have to do. But that's all part of having a business. You just have to figure it out. But yeah, one day. But yeah, I'm still in my baby steps. I'm just so happy I've made it through the first year. I survived. I hung in there. And 2 years in July. So I'm super excited about making it to the 2-year mark, because I wasn't so sure I was going to get there.
Well, I'm sure you're going to get to 10 years and on past that, because it is a need. I mean, you're fulfilling a need in the for a lot of families that just hasn't been there before. So I mean,
Right.
I wish you the best of luck. That's awesome. So let's see, for the moments that you're not working with Elder Wiser, that you're not being a mom, wife, what is it you like to do yourself outside
So
of that?
well, it doesn't leave much time for myself, but I do have a couple of things that I love to do, and one is actually, so I row for the High Point Rowing Club. We row on Oak Hollow Lake in High Point. Obviously, right now we're not rowing because we can't social distance in a boat. We are more like 1 foot apart, not 6 feet apart in the boat. But I've done that for about 4 years now, and I love it.
Nice.
I've actually raced in a couple of regattas, traveled to Tennessee and South Carolina, and it's
Oh,
just
how
it's great.
fun.
I never worked as a team. I never did a sport, not in high school ever. But now to be part of a team, I mean, it's great. And there's people younger than me, people older than me. I'm not very competitive, but there's just something about being in that boat. And I'm actually the bow seat, and so they call me Bow Brenda. So that's, of course, a big joke that I'm Bow Brenda. I am missing it now, that plus the rest of my crew, that we can't be on the water right now. But that is definitely one of my passions, is to row. And it's a very unique sport. It truly is. And my other passion is I
Nice.
have a little Frenchie, and I am the crazy Frenchie lady. And I love him dearly. We have a boxer too, but he's not the Frenchie to me. Jake is different, and I call him, he's my little lover boy, and I take him on client visits. So we do
Oh,
pet
how
therapy with
sweet.
him because it's important. He loves people, and especially now, because these people don't have a lot of outside contact, for me to be able to take Jake, for him to sit next to someone, for them to rub. It's different. I've always believed in pet therapy. I've done it with our other dogs in the past. And so I try to use Jake the same way now with people, because it's important. That is just a piece of my heart, to be able to take him, because he's just quirky. He's a Frenchie. He's quirky, and he makes people smile. He makes people laugh, and we all need a little extra sunshine in our lives right now. So that's important to me too, that I'm able to do that with Jake. And he's small. He's easy for me to throw in the car and pick up and take places. But I think he brings us a lot of love and laughter, and so I try to share that with other people too.
Oh, that is so nice. Oh my gosh. He's so cute. I've seen his pictures on on
I know
Facebook.
my husband says people are so tired of seeing that dog. I'm like, but he's funny. He makes me laugh. That's what I want, people to laugh. Let's not be so serious all the time.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Wow. Is there anything that we didn't cover that we missed that you wanted to talk about? So anything we missed, Brenda?
I don't think so. I probably shared everything plus more than anybody would
That's
ever
great.
want to know about myself or my business.
Oh, that's
But
wonderful.
I tell people, I'm like, my passion is truly helping people, and I think that it shows. I could probably talk the paint off the walls. I don't really meet a stranger. I say years and years ago, I never raised my hand in class. I never said anything. I wasn't quite so outspoken. And, now I am. I ask questions all the time because that's the only way we learn. And I think that's one reason why people say, "You're not a nurse." I'm like, "No." But I've always worked with nurses and I've asked a lot of questions. And that's how we learn, is by asking questions. And um, advocating for others, advocating for ourselves is really important. And, I consider myself to be a huge advocate for those people that I work with. They may not always be able to speak out for themselves, but I can. My motto, love for today, plan for tomorrow, because we, of course, all love for today. And we, of course, assume that tomorrow's coming, but we don't know what tomorrow will bring. And so I guess that's why part of me is a planner, but I also know that the crises are there. Those crises are not ever going to end. And my passion is definitely elder and wiser, and helping families and helping them on their journey as they age. And being there. And something I didn't mention is, whenever I work with families, is they do have 24/7 access to me. My goal is to hold their hand through whatever this process is as their family member ages. And I am not a 9 to 5 business, because life is not 9 to 5. It's okay if they call me at 8 o'clock at night on a Wednesday or a Saturday or whatever, because you can't plan for when mom's going to need something, or when mom's going to fall or end up at the hospital, or you have a question. So I try to be truly available for families to be able to help them.
Oh, that's so nice. I mean, I can just feel it, through you talking, and I can tell that you care so much for these, family members that need assistance, or the planning, and also for the families, because it is a big responsibility. It's sometimes a weight that you want your loved one to be taken care of, but sometimes we just don't know how to do it, and
That's
and I
true.
hope people will feel free to contact you, and see if you can help them in their needs for their own family members. And I sure do appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast. It's been really nice to talk to you and to understand more about your business that you've started, and I look forward to talking with you at some point in the future, and seeing how you're growing and evolving, and helping our older folks, and eventually it'll be us that will need to plan for ourselves, right?
That's right. You're exactly right.
you know.
And Amanda, I love the fact that you started doing this, and just in general, for people, for entrepreneurs, and for people to learn. But you know what I have truly loved is the fact that you've gone back to people that we went to high school with, and to see people that we went to high school with that now have their own businesses. And you're like, I was thinking today, whenever I was like, we went to high school together, would I have ever thought in high school that you and I would be doing this many years later and having our own businesses? That's crazy when you think about that. And
It's
so I
true.
truly love the fact that, we have that bond from all those years ago, and to see people that we knew, what they're doing now, how they're succeeding and how they're thriving, but doing it their own way, for themselves. I mean, it's fantastic. I love it. So I appreciate you offering us this experience to be a part of it. I think it's great.
Good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it's kind of just an idea that I had, and I'm really excited that it's, really come to fruition, and it's continuing. And well, you never know where it's going to go, but for now, I'm enjoying the ride.
Me too.
That is great. So can you tell us your phone number and
Sure,
website address, so people can get in touch with you? And I'll include
sure.
it also in the show notes.
Sure, definitely. And I love to use one of my favorite words, fruition. And I say it all the time. I'm like, my dream, it's come to fruition. I feel it now. I truly do. I
Yes,
love
that's
fancy
awesome.
words. I also like to say that I'm a plethora of knowledge.
Plethora of knowledge.
It
Yeah, I
sounds so
like that word
fancy.
too.
I love it.
I do too.
So if you would like for me to share my plethora of knowledge with you, then you can reach me. My number is 336-508-3547. That is my cell phone number. So obviously you can text me at that number as well. My email, for it to be easy, it's Brenda at 𝙀𝙀𝙝𝙀𝙀.com. And my website is 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀.com.
Okay,
So
good.
so it's pretty similar on how you can
Yes.
reach me. And sometimes, and I have to just share this. So the company name Elder and Wiser, we didn't start this company for a long time, even after we had the concept, because we couldn't find a name. We couldn't agree on a name that we liked. And so Elder and Wiser is actually a pun on older and wiser. But I don't like to say people are older. I don't want to be older, but I love the word elder. To me, it's a sign of respect for the elderly. And so we came up with Elder and Wiser. And of course, then comes the owl as my mascot because for wiser. And so I said, well, apparently I like owls, and apparently I like the color purple.
That's
So
really nice.
those were chosen for me, of course, by my husband. But yeah, so now I like purple and I like owls, and I have a lot of those. But that's how people remember elder and wiser. But I love the name now that we finally have it. But it did take us a long time to come up with it.
That's really nice. I like that. I like that. But your website doesn't have the word and, right? It's
That is
Elder
correct.
Wiser.
No, and that is correct. It is just
Okay.
elderwiser.com. Yes.
Excellent. Well, this has been great, Brenda. I really appreciate you being on here, and I wish you the most success, professionally and with your family as well.
Thank you so much, Amanda. It's been great to talk with you again, to see you again and learn a bit about your family and stuff and what's going on in your life. I have to say, I'm just a little bit jealous about where you live and oh my goodness, your day to day must be fabulous, is all I can say.
It's nice. It's nice. I cannot complain. It's really nice. But like in everything, we look for the positive and
Oh,
go
yes,
for those things because there are, always some negative aspects, but we always
that's
look for
just
the
life.
positive. Most
Yep.
definitely. Most
Yep. Well,
definitely.
it's been great. I appreciate it so much, Amanda. I've enjoyed it greatly.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you too. Bye.
Thank you for joining us in this episode of the North Carolina Business Podcast. If you're listening on iTunes, please subscribe. And if you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the little bell beside the subscribe button so you'll be notified when the next episode comes out. If you or anyone you know is a North Carolina business owner and would like to be on this podcast, please let me know by sending an email to amanda@bestlifeinspire.com. Thank you very much, and we look forward to you joining us on the next episode.